What's going on, everyone? I am back to talk about another week of Survivor. It was the 12th episode of season 45, and last episode Emily was voted out. Very tough for me. Obviously not still not super happy about it, but I'll explain. Anyway, so we're on the beach after that vote. It's pretty awkward and silent on the beach for the most part. And Dee and Julie, since Dee still voted against Julie, they've decided to kind of play like they're mad at each other and they're no longer working together, which is really freaking smart. It's mostly Dee's plan. Dee, as I've said earlier and a few times now, Dee's been a dominating force in a lot of the decisions she makes, and a lot of her decisions get made. So she's just once again playing it pretty smart. She's like 3 steps ahead of everyone at all times. It's pretty crazy. In fact, I'm actually pretty sure, for more than a couple reasons, that if Dee and Julie went against each other in the end, I think Dee wins. I think Dee might beat everyone, if I'm being honest. She definitely beats everyone in my book in terms of the way she's navigated and the role she's played in votes. Dee totally fools Austin and Drew regarding the Julie thing. They don't think she's the one who told Julie somehow. I get why Austin falls for this, but Drew I was a little surprised on. They believe her so much that they lock in that they are the final 3. Like each one of them is committing to taking each other to the end. And in the middle of this, Julie just tackles them on the beach, and it's just like, oh, remember when we used to all work together? Remember that? And it's like this weird shaming that she's doing to them. I don't know, or guilt tripping. And it was, I don't know, it was only weird to me because right before she did this, she was sitting around the fire being like, I understand why you guys did it, it's just a game, it's not a big deal. But then she's within 10 minutes, trying to rub it in their faces almost without quite doing that so directly. It was just weird. Early in the next morning, and I'm talking night vision early, Couture wakes up and figures, okay, Julie just played a hidden immunity idol. They probably hit a new one on the island somewhere. So I'm going to start looking. So she just starts looking all over the island. And she ends up in an area where not very many people go. I'm going to guess the watering hole's not over there. I don't know. But while she's searching and stuff, Dee/Austin, I'm not really sure who woke up first, but they wake up. And Dee, smart, counts and looks and tries to make sure, who is everyone here? And she notices Couture's gone. So she tells Austin, yo, Couture's gone. I think she's probably looking. So they're like, all right, we need to look for the idol/her then. So they go looking for her. Austin eventually finds her, and that just kind of ends the search there. But obviously that's going to put Couture somewhat on their radar. I don't know, but it's never good to be caught looking for the idol. I get why, and I don't know. That thing's a double-edged sword. You have to find it in a secret way. And this was a solid attempt, but yeah, I don't know. I think she might have just woke them up when she left because the timing was crazy. Julie then says she wants to talk to Drew privately, and this again just kind of feels like an extended shaming session, because she's just saying, when we said final 4, I meant it 100%, and I just don't see any way that we could ever build trust back again. And then she says in a confessional that she blames Drew for the targeting of her, and holds him solely responsible and is targeting him, or wants to target him as a result. So I really don't understand what this conversation was supposed to accomplish, but I don't know. Julie then goes and talks to Dee. This is the first time they've kind of talked since the vote. Julie in a confessional says, she trusts Dee 100%. As far as she's considered, she saved her life in the game and has demonstrated that she is fully trustworthy and trusting of her. So they're in together for surezies. And at this point, Dee is the only person, I think, who understands completely the concept of moving quietly. In terms of the secret votes, I don't know, but I feel a lot of people who have made these moves, Emily last time when she made that big move, she announced it. There's been a lot of people announcing. The only other person who I think who has played something close to the chest is Austin in regards to his sandwich idol, which is still in play. But anyway, Julie and Dee decide they have to target Drew because he's a solid strategist, and if he starts to clock them as a threat, he's going to start moving against them. In addition to that, he's a pretty good talker in terms of his ability to use analogies to kind of communicate his point, which makes for a very effective final jury, you know, argument maker in terms of winning. So obviously they're like, Drew's got to go for more reasons than one, for sure. So that's their plan. This week we have an award challenge or reward challenge. So the next thing we're heading there. The challenge is they all start in the ocean. I think it was only like waist deep, but they sprint in. No, it wasn't. They were on platforms and they kind of had to swim a little at first because Couture was super nervous. But they had to come in from the ocean, run up to the beach to these barrels, and then they would flip the barrel on its side, stand on it, and grab these ropes and kind of like monkey bar through to grab keys that were hung up there. Once they got 3 keys, they would jump down off the barrel when they got to the end, run up to a slide puzzle, unlock the parts, and then solve the slide puzzle. And that's how they win. The reward was a picnic on a sand spit. I don't know what that is. It looked like just a small island of pure sand, but I thought most islands were just sand. I don't know, but that was the word they used, so that's the word I'm going to use. But it's in the middle of the ocean, and the way they get there is actually a helicopter ride. So it's a helicopter ride, and this is actually something I talked about earlier where I was saying I feel like the rewards used to be more of like experiencing the land you're in and seeing the beauty of nature around you, and I don't know, like sometimes they go to like volcanoes and stuff like that. So that was really cool. I was like, oh, hey, they're still doing that. That's rad. It's a little less of it, but like it's still there. The challenge, it's not really much to talk about here. It was fairly close, I guess. Austin was the first to get to the barrels. But most people were close behind. He was the first to get all 3 keys, and Drew was pretty close behind at this point, but only really Drew. Everyone got to the puzzle though. By the time, like, everyone had a chance to solve the puzzle for a little bit, but Austin ended up winning the reward, and that's kind of how it's gone this season. It really has seemed like first to do each station tends to be the first, which I don't know if that speaks to how equalizing the challenge sections are, but I am inclined to think it does, and it makes me think like, oh well, it seems like if someone pulls ahead early, that's kind of it, even if it's not that far ahead. But I guess you could argue with the puzzle, it really could have gone either way. I don't know. It's just kind of a thing I've noticed several times throughout the season. Oh, for the reward though, he decides to take Dee and Couture, and right before taking Couture, he emphasizes that he has to leave someone back at camp to kind of monitor the situation. So he leaves Drew. He basically spells out, I'm leaving Drew to babysit Jake and Julie at camp. He eventually in a confessional mentions that another reason he did it specifically this way is because Drew and Jake don't get along. Jake and Julie don't get along. Drew and Julie are kind of at odds right now too, because Drew obviously wants Julie out. So like the chances of any of these people or these people themselves forming together to make a little trio group, it's low. It's super low. And Drew is immediately upset about this because he's only been on 1 reward and he had to win it, which I don't know, man. To me, this was just like, I get it. It's frustrating. He even says something like, you know, I was never picked in school, and that was hard growing up. And maybe this reminded him of that feeling. And if so, I can sympathize with that. That's rough. But you should never feel entitled to the reward, you know, if you didn't win it. That's just in my mind how I thought. Just like, I don't know. I feel like people often get upset when they are expecting to go on a reward, even if they didn't win. Like they're expecting to get picked. I think that's a dangerous, I don't know, that's a dangerous place to put hope. In a place like a Survivor. And Julie's obviously upset here because she is clearly the one being babysat after last night's vote against her. So it's a pretty stark turnaround. She went from being like, hey, we're core 4 to the end. We're definitely core 4. I'm pretty sure they were making that deal on the beach at the last episode. And now it's like, we can't trust you to be alone, so we're going to have someone babysit you. So we're back on the beach anyway. And Drew's pissed. He's pissed because at this point, Julie keeps throwing in his face like, oh, I know you got to babysit me. I know you guys got to watch me. So he kind of feels like he's taking a lot of the social heat for the Julie vote, especially in terms of the babysitting. But he also is one of the main people that's really pushing to get Julie out. So like, I mean, it's not like the heat's unwarranted. Also, what else is she gonna do? She's kind of scrambling from the bottom, you know? It's either this or like just sit there and wait, which that's not Julie. Then Jake and Julie, well, Julie says she's gonna go look for Pepper. She's like, don't worry, I'll take Jake with me because I know someone's got to keep an eye on me. And while she's talking with Jake on, you know, looking for Pepper, she's like, what if we do a little idle searching, you know? Because you and I are both not in a great spot, and like either one of us could really use it. And then Jake's like, yeah, no, I'm a fun babysitter. You know, if you want to look for the idol right now while we're looking for Peppers, I'm totally cool with that. So they look for a little bit. I don't think they end up finding anything, but eventually Drew kind of circles back around and they have to actually get some Peppers. But it was a cool little moment and kind of one I didn't necessarily see coming because Julie and Jake, they don't like actively dislike each other or anything, but Julie's been targeting Jake heavy. The helicopter from the reward then flies over the beach, which just makes Drew more mad, which I can kind of understand from his perspective. He's like, wow, cool. And now the helicopter's flying by. Again, I don't think he should have expected to go on the reward, but I definitely understand why this definitely made his already not great day worse. So I don't know, that made me laugh. It's at this point Drew says, man, life is really unfair, huh? And this fucking killed me. This Ivy League straight white dude coming to the conclusion on the beach for the first time, or it's seemingly, you know, saying like, man, life's really unfair. I didn't get to go on that fucking helicopter ride that I didn't win. Which just like, oh God, shut up. I get it, but shut up. And then Jake even points this out. And he's like saying, you know, like, life is unfair for sure, but we're on Survivor. Things could be worse. The fact that we were all in positions where we were able to step away from our jobs, our lives, our situations as a whole, to come on this game show, which is a whole massive experience. And all of that is an opportunity to win more money. Yes, obviously under this crushing capitalistic society with ever growing and ever rising inflation, the $1 million means a little less and is needed a little more by anyone. But at the same time, you have to acknowledge you have to be in some kind of position to even be able to drop your life for a month or so like this. So like, he's just kind of pointing that out. And Drew basically cuts him off and says, I want you to know that I had to scrape rice for an hour, which like, yeah, I hear you, but there are people in much worse situations all over. And especially as an American, you know, like American life is not fair. It's definitely not fair. It's horrifically imbalanced in terms of wealth inequality. But we have access to things in America that many places don't, oftentimes because of American colonial interests. So like, I don't know, this whole situation, you guys know how I feel about Drew. Obviously, this whole situation, I was just like, shut up. And then Jake, even after he's like done complaining about scraping the rice, just throws in on Survivor, just to kind of reiterate his point one more time. And this is some of that same entitlement, you know, entitlement that he was supposed to be on like the helicopter ride, all of it. I don't know. It's killing me. It's killing me at this point. We cut to the reward after this. Nothing really going on here. Couture realizes she's a third wheel. Dee confirms to the producers that she's definitely interested in Austin. So that's kind of nice. We're back on the beach now. There's not really much else to talk about the reward, so I'm just going to move on. And Jake has the good idea to say, hey, I'm going to go change down by the beach, so don't come down there. And he decides to go idol searching. And he manages to find a clue near where someone found the first Beware advantage. I think it might have been Bruce. I'm not sure. Anyway, he finds it. The clue, and it says it's at the raft down by the tribe raft. There's a compartment there somewhere. So he gets in his underwear to make his whole story more believable in case anyone walks up on him, and just starts searching around, and eventually he finds it. He finds an immunity idol that's good till Final 4, which is even better than Austin's idol, which is only good for tonight. After tonight, it's no longer good. And he found it just in time because we're going to the immunity challenge right after this. So this is a challenge I would do horrible at. I can't even believe how well people did in this challenge, especially like Julie and Dee. They were like statues for the most part, if I remember correctly. Definitely Dee though. And it's like a board that has a ball on the end of a circle over here, and you have to put 1 foot on it, like right angle knee, and just hold it in place to keep the ball on it from rolling off. If it rolls off, you're out. Last one in wins. And Yeah, like I said, not really much to talk about in these challenges. That just kind of wean down one by one. Eventually, it's Austin versus D, which is pretty hype for the edit in general. D is like talking smack, but in a flirty way to Austin periodically, and eventually she wins. And again, she like didn't move at all. It was pretty insane how well she did. I guess she has that big toe. She did attribute that one challenge win to her big toe. Does that need to be nerfed? Do D's and toes need to be nerfed? I don't know. That might be the new meta, is having big toes on Survivor. Okay, so now we're post-challenge, and we see another little moment of like Austin and Dee continuing to flirt about the challenge and their performance in it. And one thing I really like about this showmance is they didn't let it or force it to dominate the entire edit all the way. I'm sure they've been vibing with each other the whole time, but it really feels like they've mostly focused on it in this post-merge situation. I don't know. It made moments like this actually really cute and not like, okay, I get it, there are a couple. Especially because if I was more focused on the Austin Drew duo at the very beginning. I wasn't even necessarily clocking Austin and D much until like a little later on. Anyway, Drew goes and talks to OUTTTTA and Jake, and he kind of confirms / asserts that tonight the vote is going to be Julie because it has to be, which historically telling people what they're doing is always a great way to get them to work with you in Survivor, so that should go great. Jake then talks to Julie, and he's like, what if we pulled in OUTTTTA and went for Drew instead? It's a good time to blindside him. I can see my neck gum and my teeth in the corner of my eye in the viewfinder, and it's freaking me out, man. I don't like it. Makes me self-conscious. Julie agrees with this, obviously mostly because she and Dee already wanted Drew out, so this works great, and Dee is obviously probably going to vote that way anyway, so this is just more votes for them. Jake then is like, okay, cool, I'll go talk to OUTTTTA. He loops her in. She says, I want to pull Dee in. Jake says, I think we need to wait to pull in Dee, because if we wait until there's already one tie vote, the being scared of the rock could be the leverage we need to pull her over, and it'll make her grateful to us because we'll have kind of saved her in that moment. And OUTTTA's like, oh snap, that's a really good idea. All right, cool, I agree. And then we cut immediately to OUTTTTA telling Dee, I don't get this. They both say Drew at the same time, so it's a little different because they're like, who is it gonna be? 3, 2, 1, Drew. And they're like laughing. So maybe they like, no, like maybe they're like real vibing. But either way, she just straight up, she decides to loop in Dee right after telling Jake she wouldn't, at least in terms of the edit. And this again just kind of paints this picture. Dee has masterfully navigated this game to a point where every plan finds its way to her. The information is finding its way to her always. She's in a position to where she can make a decision and choose which route to go a lot of the times. I haven't kept specific track, but I would be willing to bet she was on the right side of the vote more than most people, I would say, at the very least this season. Dee's then talking to Drew. Drew's feeling freaking confident in his plan to take out Julie, and he's going so far as to say, like, this is actually a better final 5 for me than Emily would have stayed and Julie would have gone home, which is really weird to me because he wants Julie to go home still. So I'm not fully understanding what the thought is here, but I guess maybe he thought working with Emily would actually been to his detriment. He even figures while he's talking to Dee that like Julie's got to be targeting me, but that's cool. She's probably targeting me. She's going to spike my name out there. That's whatever. Austin's probably going to play his idol for me or be willing to play his idol for me if I'm in danger. I don't know why he thinks that. I don't know why in what world? In what world would this idol he worked so hard to get, this idol that he got from denying himself a sandwich he wanted so badly and wanted so bad to use for himself for so long on this night. I don't know if he's told Drew that, but he's definitely told the edit that. In what world would he play it on anyone other than himself tonight? I don't know. But this is what Drew thinks will happen. Drew then goes and talks to Austin. He starts talking about how they're probably the greatest duo of all time to play Survivor, the way they shut everything down. And I would be willing to entertain that idea way more if Dee wasn't single-handedly controlling more of the game than them and having more information. Like, so a lot of times they're getting information from Dee, and I get that works to their advantage, but like they might be getting the information, but she's still running the show. I don't know how, but she's doing it. Right before Tribal, Dee and Austin are talking, and she's really struggling on whether or not she should loop in Austin. It doesn't really seem clear on whether or not she does before they go. but then they're at tribal. We get to tribal, and I will say the jury seems super happy that D has the necklace, and I think this kind of indicates to me that like she has jury support, and I have seen things that make me think the jury does not support Julie, and now I'm seeing things that make me think they do support D, again reaffirming my idea that like, yo, D beats Julie, I think, easily. I will say that while we're looking at the jury, Emily has a very locked in, I don't know if it's stern or just an intense face. It's either the face of someone who's focused, extremely focused, concealing, or like a little angry. But it's hard to say. I don't know Emily that well. I can't read her emotions, you know. I don't know that lady. But anyway, I noticed there was some tension there. Honestly, there was nothing really juicy in the tribal. It was the same conversation we've been having the whole season of like, how hard is it to separate the votes from the friendships? And maybe we haven't been having this conversation the whole tribal. I know a lot of tribals throughout this entire show have always had this theme because it's kind of the main theme of the show. And I get that. But like when you have this same conversation 3 or 4 tribals in a row, it starts to feel really monotonous and actually even make me reflect upon that. Which is not the greatest thing, I'll say. It almost makes me feel bored. Drew, I will say, though, when asked a question, says, if I get through tonight's vote, I see a very clear path to the end, which is an incredibly wild thing to say, reckless thing to say when there's 2 votes left. Like, not just tonight's vote, there's 1 more vote. You're so... biting the hand, man, biting the hand. And also the arrogance, man. It's never a good look for the jury. Right after this, we go into the vote. The vote is clearly set up to be Julie v. Drew, obviously, this whole time. And Austin plays his idol for himself and admits that he got it on the journey with Jay and Kelly. So now everyone knows he's lied. That one time way back when, especially the jury. I thought he was going to hold on to final tribal. I was close. I was off by 2, but he reveals that information. Anyway, but the votes are revealed. Julie gets 2 votes and Drew gets 4. And so because Julie got 2 votes and based off Austin's reactions, it appears Dee did not tell Austin anything about this plan before coming in. So he is taken aback by it. Drew is completely silent, no smiles, doesn't even look back, won't look anyone in the face at all. The jury takes note. Kelly says he seems pissed. And honestly, this response did not shock me at all. Everything about the, like, even though Drew's been saying, you know, if anyone screws me over, I get it, it's just a game. And I don't even think this is Drew being genuinely mad and thinking that these are bad people. I honestly think this is a pretty intense guy who was obviously very competitive in the cope stage, you know, like he just got voted out. He thought he was doing really well. I mean, this is what you fucking get, honestly, for saying greatest duo of all time. You built yourself up to be knocked down this hard. So like, I don't think this is any indication of like bad sportsmanship or anything. In fact, this might be good sportsmanship. You know, this could be like as good as he can do. You know, sometimes people are so mad right after they lose that they can't say anything nice. So the best thing to do is just walk away and then come back later and be like, hey, it was a good time, you know, whatever. Either way, I wasn't surprised by this reaction, but I don't want to like say it like indicates anything shitty. Just because there's been other things that do, you know. So I know I know it might seem like I'm piling up on Drew sometimes, but he did some things that I thought were gross. And so I am going to call it out, but I don't want this to be brought into that pile because I think this is just a mark of a pretty competitive player, which he obviously is. So yeah, that was this episode. Dee dominated this episode. She's kind of been dominating more or less this entire season, or at least for a while now. And I think if we're looking at the best player this season, who's made the best decisions, the most correct decisions, and had the most influence over what's happening, I think Dee wins. I believe so. I think Drew's overconfidence was ultimately his downfall. Like I said, he built himself up to bring himself down. Part of that was his alliance misleading him in like the form of Dee. And another part of it was expecting that Austin was going to play his idol for him. There was just a couple things he was overconfident in or overlooking or blindsided to, you know. So yeah, that's where that came down to. In terms of Austin and D, I think Austin's probably going to forgive D. It's pretty obvious he really likes her, and it seems like she really likes him. So I don't see any, like, he also hasn't really taken anything super personally this season, with the exception of maybe the sandwich, I guess. Yeah. And I don't know. I just feel like they're gonna patch it up, no problem. We'll probably hear more about it at the reunion show, I'm sure. I think it's I think the obvious targets are Julie and D at this point, because D is a threat to win and Julie's been a threat to win. Not that D hasn't either, but people are just now kind of starting to notice it, maybe. Even though I think they're the main targets, I don't know who's gonna end up going home next week. A lot of things could happen. It's the last vote. Things get weird. So I could see it going anyway, but that was Survivor this week. That's all I got for you guys. I know I haven't been posting as much. I mean, just Let's Plays are dead. Let's Plays are dead. You know, no one really gives a shit about gaming content anymore on YouTube, and that's fine. So I'll probably just do gaming streams. I don't know what else I'm going to do for content. I want to make more content, but React content is exhausting in a way that's hard to describe, and it puts pressure on me that I don't really enjoy. After a little while, I want to get back to like my roots, and I don't know, I kind of want to do skits or something. I don't know, but I also kind of like doing these TV review things, so maybe there's other shows I'll talk about. I don't know, but I really appreciate everyone who's actually been watching. I know most of you don't even make it this far into the video, so I'm probably talking to no one anyway, but either way, and especially if you are here, thank you guys so much for watching and listening to my, opinions. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day, and I will see you later. Catch you on the flippity flip.